Okay, here we go. This is very exciting. I'll try not to start every single one of these live broadcasts somewhat awkwardly, but that seems to be my trend. Very exciting to be here. We have been doing these the last few months where we've been talking about what we've been watching, getting your Q&A in, and just having a good time. And so I'm really happy to be here on this Sunday night to be talking with Ryan. Thank you so much for joining me for this live October wrap-up.
It's always a pleasure, Rachel, whether it's recording Hidden Gems or just doing these monthly wrap-ups. These are things that I look forward to doing with you because we talk about movies and we get to chew the fat for an hour. And this is normally this is normally something I don't get to do a lot with other people because there are not a lot of people that love movies as much as I do. Like I'll be like, dude, I just watched the best movie last night, and they'll be like, awesome, and that's it. And I can't gush with anyone other than you. So this is cheaper than therapy.
That's right. Outside of my podcasting friends, I don't really have a whole lot of friends that are super into movies, but I did get to yesterday, got to go to the Cinemark for, I won one of their live private whatever screenings that they have, and you were allowed to bring up to 20 people. I managed to corral, there was, including myself, 12 people. So I felt pretty proud of myself that I got 12 people, 11 people to come to the movie day. We watched Nightmare Before Christmas, and that was really fun. It was really fun.
One of my all-time favorites.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's like the perfect movie to watch on Halloween for me, because it's also about Christmas. And where do you stand on the Nightmare Before Christmas debate? Are you on team Christmas movie or team Halloween movie?
I actually I think you can watch it on both days, but force my head to the fire on this one. I'd say Halloween. Jack Skellington is the king of Halloween. It primarily takes place in Halloween Town. It is primarily a Halloween movie with some Christmas elements in there.
Yeah, I mean, the only argument I would have against that is that almost the whole thing is kind of about, whenever there's a movie about anybody attacking Christmas, right? It's always a Christmas movie, and Christmas is the moral truth in the movie, and it's about the attack on Christmas. So that's the only reason I think, well, maybe it's a Christmas movie, because Christmas wins the day in the end. Yeah. But I don't know. I probably, just the aesthetic of the movie, I think you got to go team Halloween.
Yeah, and even though the movie was released in '93, it still looks just as wonderful now as it ever did back in the early '90s. I mean, Henry Selick and Tim Burton just went above and beyond to make the ultimate animated Halloween movie, at least in terms of stop motion, because that's like the Citizen Kane of stop motion animated Halloween movies, if that is a thing.
Yeah, I agree. It is definitely the gold standard. There's no doubt about that. And so, yeah, it was great. I absolutely loved seeing it. And I think you do hear a lot of people talking about this is Halloween and what's this, but I think overall the music is maybe a little bit underrated. I love Danny Elfman's voice. I think it's so pretty. He has such a nice tenor voice, and so I don't know.
It helps that he was actually in a rock band before he became a composer.
Oh, really? So I didn't know that.
He was in this band called Oingo Boingo. Their most famous song was this song called Weird Science. I'll send it to you. It's actually quite a fun song.
Aren't they the Come On Eileen guys? Or am I thinking of somebody else? I'm probably thinking of somebody else. But I swear I know that name. Anyway, oh no, I guess it's different there. and that's Dexy's Midnight Runners. I get my one-hit wonders confused. Okay, here we go. Well, so I felt like, at least for me, October flew by.
It really did. It really did.
Ugh.
I mean, I think for me, it was because I did a daily upload series over on my channel, which
Yeah.
I've never done, and was just very nervous at the prospect of it. But yeah, it was like certain months this year have just been either like slower than molasses
I
or just
know.
like faster than the Flash on speed. It was like one or the other, and there's no in between.
Yeah, no, it's very true. And I think just getting everything ready for the Christmas season over Hallmarkies podcast, they especially doing all the preview shows, which you were kind enough to participate in. Those preview shows are a ton of work to do. You have to get all the information about all the different, and finding out the writers and the directors, and because all of that, at least for us, can factor in whether we give it an orange or a diamond ring. And if you wonder what I'm talking about, you have to go check out Hallmarkies podcast, our previews. That's what we do. We give a diamond ring if it's our most excited, and a coal if it's our least excited. Yeah, that was really fun to have you on we did a kind of grab bag of all the remaining networks, because we did two lifetimes. We did Hallmark channel, Hallmark Movies and Mysteries channel, Up TV channel, and then the final grab bag. So it was really fun, but a lot of work.
Here's a kind of a dumb question. Is Hallmark and Hallmark Movies and Mysteries two different channels?
Yes, two different channels. They actually even have another one called Hallmark Drama, but there isn't any new films on Hallmark Drama. They're just playing old ones, some really good old ones, by the way. But yeah, Hallmark Channel is more during the holidays. Hallmark Channel is more about rom-coms, and then in Hallmark Movies and Mysteries, they tend to have a little bit more drama to them, and just they're not like super dramatic, but like tonight is one where a woman ends up getting the children of her friend who dies from cancer, and just try to make it a really good Christmas. And so it's like there's a little more like weight, and gravitas to it than the cute rom-coms. And so we've had now, we're starting this weekend is the second week of Christmas movies. And we have had some pretty good ones. I'd say that they're starting with some of their best. So hopefully this will continue through the whole season, because I loved I loved Deliver By Christmas. It was so cute. I really loved One Royal Holiday that was on last night. It was really fun if you like a Cinderella story. And then I also really enjoyed Cranberry Christmas, which was a story about a separated couple, which is very unique for Hallmark. They usually don't do that. So I really enjoyed that. I liked on Lifetime Channel, they had one called Christmas Unwrapped, which was really fun, about this reporter who's sent to investigate this man who's giving out all these gifts and everything, and what's behind the story, and it's cute. And so yeah, been pretty good so far, I would say. There hasn't been really one that's been like awful, thankfully, yet.
Well, knock on wood.
Yeah. There's still many more to come. But anyway, so yeah, y'all check out Hallmarkies podcast. But that was a lot of fun doing the preview with Jennifer Chandler. We got to do, so that was fun. So, all right. And yes, you've been doing your Scary Mania. How did you come up with the movies that you picked for your series?
So I basically just went chronological. I went from, because I knew I kind of based it around this. I knew that one of the first, if not the first, horror movies ever made was The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari. It was released in 1920. And so I figured, hey, 2020, figured it was a nice place to start. And I'll cover 31 movies across 100 years worth of horror movies. And so I think a few of the givens were absolutely Caligari, Nosferatu, A Symphony of Horror, and the original, The Phantom of the Opera. Those are the three most recognizable silent horror movies. Those are the ones that everybody recognizes. And then maybe outside of the 40s and 50s, it's really more diverse. I knew that I always wanted to talk about Dracula and Frankenstein on my channel because Frankenstein is my favorite monster movie of all time. I saw it at the correct time. I was actually taking a college course where it was a scientific themes in film, and we had to watch like a monster movie or a sci-fi movie, and then we would talk about the scientific themes in it throughout. One section we did it on Waterworld, the Kevin Costner movie, and that was that was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And another one of those sections was Frankenstein and then Bride of Frankenstein, the sequel. And I love both of those movies. So I always wanted a half decent excuse to talk about Frankenstein, and well, I finally got it.
That's great.
I think the most difficult decade that I had to cover was the 1940s because that was when World War II was happening and people were obviously more concerned with the war going on rather than the quality of the Universal monster movies. A lot of sequels were pushed out like around that time. And so it was really difficult. I ended up choosing The Mummy's Hand, which is the sequel to the Boris Karloff version. And then hang on, let me pull up my list really quick and I'll not there. Oh wait, yes, there. It was The Mummy's Hand, The Wolfman, which was an original and one of the best horror movies of the 40s in my opinion. And then I rounded it off with Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman, which was one of the first, if not the first, monster like battle movies. It was a monster versus a monster. And not only that, but it was the final appearance of Lon Chaney Jr. as the Wolfman, unless you count Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein, which he was the Wolfman in there. And it was the first and only appearance of Bela Lugosi as Frankenstein's monster, which was full circle because he originally turned down the part because he said, I'm going to be wearing pounds of makeup all day. I don't want to do that. And then cut to about 10 years later, he's actually doing it, or 10 or 15, somewhere around there. So, and it was just, and then after that, it was into the 50s. And after the 50s, it like the choices were just like, if I cover this, I'll be happy. But then I'm like, I'll be ignoring that. And I was just afraid people are going to be like, why didn't you cover this or that or the other thing? But thankfully, everyone seemed to be pretty happy with my choices.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
it's very interesting.
I did an entire section on Hammer horror, which seemed to go over pretty well.
Yeah, I'd never even heard of that. I mean, I've never been a huge horror fan. I've never been a horror fan, and so a lot of this kind of stuff is a big hole in my movie watching experience. I haven't seen hardly any of the Universal monster movies. So that's something I'm working on. Is I even actually purchased them last year, and now I need to get with it and watch some of those early horror movies. So yeah, that was really fun. I appreciated that. I did watch Halloween this month for my blind spot. That was pretty exciting.
And you actually liked it.
I did. Yeah, I did. I think that they did a good job of creating tension, that you feel like these characters are constantly being watched. And I thought they did an excellent job with that. And it wasn't too bloody. It wasn't too gory, I didn't think. There's some tense scenes, but not too bad.
Yeah, it's in Halloween 2, it gets a little more intense in terms of the blood department without going too much into spoilers. But that first one, it's done like how Michael Myers' aura is done perfectly by Donald Pleasance in the iconic scene where he was telling the story about how he met a 6-year-old boy without an expression on his face. And then he says the line, the blackest eyes, the devil's eyes. And like Donald Pleasance sells that entire movie just like a true pro.
Yeah. Yeah, he was really good. I like that. I like the fact that they didn't try, and I'm sure they do in the sequels, but at least in this movie, he's just evil. They don't feel this need to give him this elaborate tragic backstory or whatever. And I kind of liked that because I'm kind of sick of that with villains.
Oh,
Like
sequels.
yeah,
Oh,
I
the
like just
sequels.
villains being villains. What's wrong with that? Jess is on and she says, checking in, Halloween is so good. And I also thought the most recent was amazing. Did you see the most recent one?
Yes, I don't think it's as good as the original, but out of like considering Halloween 2 through like up until now, I haven't seen all the sequels. I think I saw Halloween 2 like a really long time ago, but just considering the original and then all of the sequels plus the two Rob Zombie ones and then the 2018 version, I think David Gordon Green made about as good or as close to a tone and a feeling of the original without literally copying and pasting the original. I think that movie is I think that movie's actually underrated. It was an honorable mention on my I know how to speak on my movie nerds club video for my top 5 horror movies of the 2010s. It just barely missed the cut, but the 2010s actually turned out to be a pretty loaded year for horror movies. So it was like I want to include this, but then there's like 3 others that are still better, but there's still this which is still pretty admirable, and it's
Mhm.
like I had to keep my brain from breaking because it was like it was so loaded. It was a really loaded decade for horror, and
Mhm.
even though I may not have been a big fan of some of the more acclaimed ones, there was still like 4 or 5 that still were like that's for me. So there was something for everybody in this decade for horror, which I'm very happy
Yeah.
about.
Yeah. You want everybody to get good movies. And Jess says, totally agree. Original is the best, but this newer one was very good. So there we go. And she also says there were a lot of moments in that movie that were just so good. So
Agreed.
yeah, I mean, if I had to say my favorite horror movie, well, I did the of the 2010s. What did I say? I can't even remember anymore. What did I say was my favorite in there? I mean, I do really like Get Out. I think that's really fun. I don't really like his friend. I think he's kind of annoying, but other than that, I think it's an enjoyable film. Um, and oh, Babadook. Babadook is my favorite. I think
I
that's really fun.
actually own that. Never watched it. I've heard nothing but amazing things, especially from the performance from Essie Davis. So I
Yeah.
think I'll have to save that for Scary Mania 2, even scarier.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, and so I did over on my channel, I did Disney Scares months. Fun Jess is in the chat because she'll relate to that. So I did 5 movies. The next one comes out tomorrow, and that'll be the final one of this season of Disney Scares months. And so this is my 5th year doing Disney Scares, and I'm really proud of the whole series. And this year was fun because I did a collab with Lee over at Drum Dums on Watcher in the Woods. And so that was really fun to get to do that. Uh, and get to talk about that one. Tomorrow is Runaway Brain, which is a pretty fun Mickey short where he goes sort of crazy. Yeah, have you
Say
seen
that
it?
title again, Runaway Brain.
Runaway Brain. Yeah, it's basically like a kind of a Frankenstein, but with Mickey Mouse, and he gets the wild creature put into him, and then he gets put into the wild creature to the monster, and so all of a sudden you have the snarling Mickey. It's pretty wild. Yeah.
Now all I can think about is Mickey doing the iconic line, "It's alive!" Haha.
Yeah. Yes, so Jess agrees. And so we also did, so Jess, if you all don't know, she is reviewing every single Disney movie on her channel, literally, even the direct to DVD movies, which God
Wow.
bless her. So mine for this.
I'd like to do that one day, but like 5 years from now.
So
Because
for me,
Disney owns so much now that it's like it's like my Mount Everest. I gotta
yeah.
train, I gotta say my prayers and take my vitamins, and then when I'm ready, I'll slay that beast.
Yeah. I have no desire to watch all those direct-to-DVD movies. No, not for me. So I did Halloween Town 2. I did Watcher in the Woods again, which I'd actually already done once before, and then I did Twitches 2, which is a lot of fun, and then Mom's Got a Date with a Vampire, which I found. I'll have to watch Jess's review of it. I found it to be really strange. I mean, it's kind of a strange title, so maybe that shouldn't be a surprise. But I don't know. I didn't feel like it was a kids movie hardly at all. It was about this mom going out dating again, and her getting the confidence to go out dating, and she ends up going out on a date with a vampire. And it has Charles Shaughnessy from The Nanny, which I love The Nanny, so that was fun. But I don't know, I just thought, what kid's gonna want to do this? Watch this movie? To me, it seemed very like grown up. I don't know. There's a long section where she sings a song, like a country song. I mean, it was nice. I liked it, but I was just thinking, as kids, I think I would be kind of bored with it. But it has a following; people like it.
When was this made?
Oh, I guess Jess hasn't done it yet. It was like 98 or something like that.
I was going to say, because Disney's period from the late 70s to the early 80s was like wild. Like they were throwing some experimental stuff out there, like Watcher in the Woods, like you just mentioned. I watched that completely unrelated to Halloween, and I was just like, this is Disney. This got passed Disney, and it's very good. I really enjoyed it, but I'm like, wow, this wouldn't fly today.
Yeah, I mean, I guess this is 2000, and I don't know. I mean, I guess it's cool that sometimes we don't give kids enough credit, but that they like a movie that's pretty serious. Wasn't all that fun to me. It was more serious, which is fine, but I don't know. It was just, I was surprised, but yeah, so she's in 98, so I guess it's in 2000. So all right, let's move on. So I really enjoyed doing Disney December, and so Disney Scares. I really enjoyed Disney Scares, and so coming up on my channel, we have what I call Foreign Language Movie Month. And maybe that's not PC anymore. I don't know what else to call it, because it's not international movies, because they can be made right here. It's just non-English movie month. I'm trying to talk about.
Don't overthink it. Just go with foreign.
I mean, that's what I've done so far, and that seems to be fine. So I'm going to be doing The Red Balloon next week, and then doing a movie called In the Land of the Deaf, which was a pioneering film in the 80s about following this group. I think it's a school of deaf children. I thought it sounded pretty cool. And then a movie called Canela, which I think is Spanish, about a girl who wants to learn how to cook. And I thought that would be fun for Thanksgiving week. And then a movie called Pahuna, that I think is Mongolian, that I thought looked kind of fun. So yeah, I'm going to be doing some international releases for this next month on my channel.
Definitely taking a walk on the wild side on that one.
I know. Yeah, I don't pretend that these are going to get lots of views, but I enjoy doing it. It's Pahuna, the Little Visitors. Three Nepalese children rely on each other for survival after they become separated from their parents while entering India. So that sounded cute to me. And So it's something, it's tradition that I do every November. I've done it for the last, this will be my 4th year doing it. So that'll be fun. I've done so far, I've done The Umbrellas of Cherbourg, Babette's Feast, Children of Heaven, Our Little Sister, Dancing in Jaffa, Chak Day, India, A Cat in Paris, I Wish, Moomins and the Comet Chase, The Lunchbox, My Father's Glory, White Snake, and Kiki's Delivery Service. So
I love how in all that it's like Moomins, the Moon Chase, and then
yes,
the Lunchbox.
There is nothing cuter than the Moomins, the Moomin Trolls. They're so cute. So anyway, so that's coming up on my channel. Do you have anything coming up on your channel?
Just jumping full with 2 feet back into the AFI project. My review for Midnight Cowboy, which is list entry number 43, is actually going to drop tomorrow at noon. So that's going to be really exciting. And then let me check the list. Because thankfully AFI.com has a list that I follow. And so after that, I'll just name like the next 5. So number 44 is going to be The Philadelphia Story with Cary Grant and James Stewart, as well as one of the Hepburns, I believe, Catherine. And then Shane from 1953, which is one of my all-time favorite Westerns. Can't wait to talk about that one. Then next is It Happened One Night from Frank Capra and starring Clark Gable and Claudette Colbert.
Yeah.
Thank you, Brain. And then number 48 is Rear Window from Alfred Hitchcock, which is just one of my all-time favorites. Can't wait to talk about that. Number 49 is the oldest movie I'm ever going to talk about on the channel, at least for a while. It's Intolerance, or How Love Survives. I can't remember the official title off the top of my head, but it was released all the way in 1916 and was directed by D.W. Griffith. And then at number 50, which is the halfway point of the list, I'll be talking about the latest movie on the list from 2001, The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring, which I think a few people saw. It's kind of fallen off the radar, but hopefully I'll be able to initial a renaissance because it's another one of my all-time favorites. And then literally after Fellowship of the Ring, it's like nothing but quality for the next 5. West Side Story, Taxi Driver, Deer Hunter, MASH, North by Northwest, and that's the top 5. And then after that, it's Jaws, Rocky, The Gold Rush. It's like
amazing. You're gonna have so much fun. That'll be great. I mean, there's a lot of those actually I haven't seen.
I'm in an embarrassment of riches in terms of stuff to review right now.
That's great. Well, I wanted to give really quick a couple quick reviews of some films that I've been able to see in the last few weeks that I haven't had a chance to write about or talk about anywhere else. So here are my little mini reviews. And so I was able to watch On the Rocks, which is available in theaters and on Apple Plus. And this is by Sofia Coppola. And it stars Bill Murray and Rashida Jones and their father-daughter. And she starts to get worried that her husband is cheating on her. Her husband is Marlon Wayans. And basically, like, Bill Murray's character is kind of a scoundrel in a lot of ways, but super charming and really sweet in the end. And he kind of encourages her in spying on her husband and in figuring this all out because he cheated on her mom, and he knows kind of what the signs are, and he's also sort of hypersensitive. I don't know. I absolutely loved Bill Murray in this movie. I thought that he was so great, so charming. I think that if he isn't nominated for Best Actor, I will be shocked. I think he has a good case to win. He is so good in this movie. I loved him. And Rashida Jones is good too, but this is just his movie. And it's a really simple movie. It's just people talking in cars and people talking but if you have anybody in your life that just they're in a room, they just own the room. And everybody is like attracted to them. They're so charismatic. This is how his character is. And it really reminded me a little bit of my dad, not in the sense, because my dad's a very faithful, very good person. He's not like this at all, but in the sense of just his magnetism. And my dad is like that. He'll go into a room, and by the end, he will have made, 5 friends, a room of strangers. And so that's kind of the connection that I made. I just really enjoyed it way more than I expected, because Sofia Coppola, for me, I've been kind of hit and miss with her. I haven't seen some of her famous movies, but at least The Beguiled this last time, I really thought that I would love it, and I didn't love it, and I didn't think it was great. And Maria Antoinette, I don't love. I don't know. She's not my favorite. Sometimes her pacing can be a bit off to me, but this one I thought clipped along really nice, and I just very much enjoyed it. I'd give it an 8.5 out of 10. And then I have a movie called Yellow Rose, and Yellow Rose is a story about a young woman who is Filipino. She's a illegal immigrant. She's the daughter of legal immigrants, so she's illegal. And her mother ends up getting arrested. She has these dreams of becoming a country music star. Well, she loves country music. And so those are kind of 2 parts of the movie. I actually kind of wish that they had focused more on the music a little bit. I mean, the other stuff was good, but I really loved the music stuff. And last year I loved Wild Rose. It was so good, and one of my favorites of the year. This is not on that level, even though it has a similar name, but I still did enjoy it. I think there's some good performances. Lea Salong as her mom does a good job. Dale Watson as this sort of honky-tonk singer, musician that kind of is her mentor. He was really good. So I would give it like a 6.5, 7 out of someone like 7. I'll give it a 7 out of 10. And then I saw the movie Clouds on Disney Plus. And this is one of those movies for teenagers that's about people that have terminal illness. And I don't mean to laugh. That's terrible to laugh. But it's just such a strange trend, I feel like, that teenagers love these movies about people dying. I don't know. It's very sad. This is about a young man named Zach Sobiek, and he, I guess, became kind of a viral hit with his song Clouds that he wrote after he got cancer. And it's pretty sad. This is pretty standard for this kind of movie, but it was well done. If you want to watch one of these teenage weepies, then this is a decent one. It's fine. I don't know. His parents, Nev Campbell, Tom Everett Scott, they're good. Yeah. What do you? You're closer to those teenage years than I am, Ryan. Why do the teenagers like these weepy romances so much?
I'm not an expert by any means, but if I had to take a wild guess, I think there's maybe something romantic about death, and how there's like a finality to it. So you got to get in the good stuff while you can, because it's not going to last all that long. I think that's why I like The Fault in Our Stars so much, which is a movie from John Green, one of the Vlog brothers, starred Shailene Woodley and the dude from Baby Driver.
And Instant. Yeah.
That's why I like that movie so much. It's because Ansel Elgort knows he's going to die, but he's like, all right, I'm going to die, so I might as well just try and enjoy it while I can. And so the two just have a thing together that I just really enjoyed. And the best kinds of these movies don't try and do like a I love you, and they're like super sappy about the whole thing. That's why I like The Fault in Our Stars. It's like they kind of start off not necessarily hating each other, but Shailene Woodley's character is like I'm not sure, but then as soon as they let each other in, that's when it becomes good. And so I guess bring this back to the whole death thing. I remember reading a bunch of those books, like those teen books, like in high school, of involving a death or eventually leading to a death. And I just have to think that there's something like final about it. And you got to get your stuff in.
Maybe it's that maybe they feel somewhat inconsequential, and then these, when you only have those teenage years, you got to make them count. So it gives it like some weight to it or something like that. I don't know, but I mean, every generation, it's not just like new. I mean, I Walk to Remember when I was a teenager, or I mean, even going all the way back to like Love Story in the 70s was a huge phenomenon. I'm sure there's every generation. It's just a funny thing. I'd give Clouds a 6 out of 10. And then I saw Letter to You, which is Bruce Springsteen's album film about him and his band members. It is beautifully made. It has beautiful black and white cinematography, and it's very well done, well made. I think this is on Apple Plus. If you like Bruce Springsteen, then you'll like it. If you don't, then don't watch it. It's not for you. I give it I'll give it a 7 out of 10. So that, I think, catches up with everything that I had to talk about. So let's do some Q&As. And if you are listening, watching, then you can submit your questions too. But I got a little thing I found with some fun questions. So you ready?
In the words of every drug PSA from the 1980s, any questions?
That's right. Very good. Okay, this is the toughest question, but what is your all-time favorite movie?
Ooh, how long you got?
I know, it's tough.
Do you have an answer?
Well, for years and years and years, I said that Up was my favorite movie. Pixar's Up. I love that movie. I mean, lately I've been saying Your Name is my favorite movie. I do love that movie. It's like I go in phases. There was a time when Breakfast at Tiffany's was my favorite movie. Even with its flaws, I love it. And it was like that was like my college movie. I mean, I love The Little Mermaid and The Beast. Those are up there. But yeah, if I were to say right now, my favorite movie is probably Your Name. I love it.
Yeah, I think I'd have to go. I think I'd have to stay with Jurassic Park, despite the fact that I've seen a lot of what is considered to be some of the greatest movies ever made. I've always come back to Jurassic Park because it achieved the balance. Yeah. It was a monster movie with brains. It was a monster movie in that it had, like, I know not IRL dinosaurs, but IRL, or about as close to it, dinosaurs, and they were treated truly like monsters. And if you saw them, you tried to run the other way, and even if you did, you're pretty much food. That's pretty much it. And one of my all-time favorite scenes is when Alan and Ellie and all them first discover the dinosaurs, and Ellie's looking down, she's like, what kind of species? And Alan is like taking his glasses off, and he's like, he sees it, and then he turns her head around.
Oh, I know.
Wells up, and it's like dun 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 dun, and then it crescendos with Richard Attenborough's legendary line, "Welcome to Jurassic Park," and then I'm nerding out just thinking about it.
My last top 100 that I did, I had Jurassic Park at 4, so I'm totally with you. It manages to create that awe and spectacle, but also not forget about the characters, which is very rare. None of the sequels have been able to come close, in my opinion. In doing that,
was about as close as we were ever going to get. It was okay, but it lost a lot of luster. I haven't seen 3 in a very long time, so I can't really comment like either way. I haven't seen it in years. I'll have to rewatch it just to think about it. And then Jurassic World was okay, I suppose, but I'm just insulted it made as much money as it did. And then Fallen Kingdom just pretty much pile drove any hope of me enjoying any of these movies ever again. Wait through the half-assed Trump jokes and the terrible CGI, and it just boils down to cloning, and then the clone daughter just releasing all the dinosaurs onto the entire
spoiler alert, but yeah,
because solidarity, I suppose, just dumbness on
it
this
was really bad.
should be studied by top scientists. Like Neil deGrasse Tyson should be on this. Like Elon Musk should try and bottle this and sell this so we can bottle our cities. It just,
yeah.
And the thing is that J.A. Bayona is a good director. He directed The Impossible and A Monster Calls. I don't know what he was thinking with this one, but
I thought he did some fun sequences. There were like parts that like got that sort of horror vibes, but overall, it wasn't great. The script was the problem, and maybe he couldn't.
God bless.
What is he going to do?
God bless Chris Pratt, who's my man. Like he tries to make it work, but not even he can save it. Like they put Toby Jones in a Trump wig. Like how shameless can these people be? And there is a military character who said "nasty woman." I'm like, oh gee, I wonder who this could be referring to.
Yeah,
it's about a stubborn brick to the head, but I shall descend.
Yeah. Well, the last time I did a top 100, I also had Wizard of Oz at number 5.
That's a good choice.
At 6. You've Got Mail at 7, which is probably my most quotable movie. I love that script. Back to the Future at number 8. And then I have Breakfast at Tiffany's at 9 and Star Wars at 10. So
I mean, everybody knows the quotes from You've Got Mail. I mean, it was the voice of an email software for years.
That's right.
You've got mail.
If I knew where you lived, I'd send you a bouquet of freshly sharpened pencils. Anyway, I love You've Got Mail. Anyway, okay, so what's the next question? All right. So are there any kinds of movies you dislike, like genres?
Any genres? Not really, no. I try and give at least even the ones that are like, oh, that looks really bad. I at least try and give them a chance. Like even rom-coms, which are like on like the bottom rung of stuff that I like. If it has an actor or an actress that I like or a director that I like, I'll at least give it half a chance.
Oh yeah, you totally will. I mean, I'm not. If it's considered a genre, like anything that's like pornography or anything like that, like I'm not going to watch that. But like I've been trying to be more open as far as horror, to be more open to, since I became Rotten Tomatoes, I've been trying to be more open to that. As far as ones that I tend to dislike, or at least not like as much as other people, I'm usually not as into sci-fi movies as most people. There are certainly ones that I like, but I think that a lot of times the genre, sci-fi and fantasy, both of those genres, they tend to be more concerned about place than about story or characters. And sometimes I find ones that other people love to be kind of a snooze. And so I struggle a little bit with a lot of popular sci-fi movies that I'm like, oh, that was really boring. But there are some that I like. I think like torture porn, I'm not going to watch that. That's not going to happen. But that's more my just personal beliefs than anything else, you know. So
with sci-fi, it can be a bit of a coin toss. Sometimes it gets so high concept that you're just like, okay, you're just kind of being abstract for the sake of being abstract. Like kind of something that a recent example for me was Ad Astra. I walked into that movie thinking it was going to be excellent, and I was just like, I was asleep almost halfway through, because there were a couple good ideas in there, like we colonize the moon and we immediately turn it into like what our airports are like now, with like everything but like an Auntie Anne's and a Starbucks in there. But then it was essentially Brad Pitt just narrating stuff for like 2 hours. And I've seen a lot of comparisons to Apocalypse Now, but at least with Apocalypse Now, there was a really good mystery in there. But with that Astra, it was just like, can we please just get to Tommy Lee Jones? He can save this, right? Spoiler alert, he does not.
Not. I actually did give that a very mild fresh, but it was like a 5 or 6. But it was very pretty. That was one that I was kind of dazzled with as far as in the theater, but I haven't thought about it since I saw it. But anyway,
on the verge of expiration.
Like Blade Runner, I famously have never been able to get through it. I've tried to watch it 6 times, and every time I fall asleep. And so I should just use it as my insomnia. I should just use it for my insomnia. And the first Star Trek movie, woo! That one is rough.
I actually watched that for the first time earlier this year. I liked it, but I get why people don't like it. Robert Wise is an excellent director, directed Sound of Music and West Side Story.
Yeah.
He should not have directed this movie because he tried to make it 2001 and he completely whiffed it.
No, it was so boring. I was just like, what is happening? Why are we staring at the ship for like 5 minutes?
We get it. The Enterprise is awesome. Talk about something else now.
Okay, so yes, so let's here is, do you prefer fiction or nonfiction in your, this is books and movies? What do you prefer? True stories or fiction?
I prefer fiction, at least for me. I read a lot of nonfiction books. Like last year, I read a lot of autobiographies. Like I read Steve Jobs' autobiography, Jeff Bezos' autobiography, and those are very fascinating. But at the end of the day, give me a good space adventure, or a good I'm planning on reading all of Michael Crichton's books eventually, or Robert Ludlum's books. Robert Ludlum wrote all the Bourne novels, which were famously turned into the movies with Matt Damon. Like nonfiction all the way for me.
Yeah. I used to have a goal that I would read a nonfiction and fiction book every month. That was my goal. I haven't been very good about my goal lately because I'm just so busy. It's hard to have time to read.
You got 10.5 million Christmas movies to review. When are you going to find the time?
I've already watched 20 Christmas movies, and it's November 1st.
It's just barely November.
Yeah. New Christmas movies. So it's hard to find the time to read, but I love to read, and so I need to find time. But I end up reading a lot of rom-coms, which is what I like, because a lot of it is for people. I interview authors on the podcast, or that kind of thing. And I mean, I love Jane Austen. I used to have every year I would read all 5 of her books every year. And I haven't done that for a long time, but I love doing that. And I love Elizabeth Gaskell, who wrote North and South and Wives and Daughters, which are both books I love. And they've been both turned into great series. I don't know why we've never gotten a movie off of Elizabeth Gaskell, because her stories are so good. But I love Jane Eyre. That's another favorite. So I love the classics. And I, for the most part, I have a hard time finding modern novels that I love. I feel like they end up, because it's one thing for me as far as like R-rated content. If it's in a movie, it's like 2 hours and I'm done. That's it for the experience. Whereas like I'm much pickier when it comes to books that I read as far as content, and also television shows, especially, that I watch. So that's why I don't watch a lot of the HBO shows. The Game of Thrones, that kind of thing. I mean, that's not my thing anyway, but I all that when it's like a weekly thing, when you're making like a commitment, and when you're reading a book, you're in that book for a long time, and you're reading it for, at least for me, most of the time, it's like a couple of weeks or whatever I'm reading. So it's got all this objectionable language and all of this content, this sensuality. That's not something I'm generally going to want to read. And I find a lot of modern novels, if they are going to have that kind of content, they don't use it in an interesting way. It's just to kind of be more mature. And so I'm like, oh, why did you ruin your story? I don't know. And we got some really good comments here from Artist Love. Says, I love the new Blade Runner, though I don't know why. I've watched it so many times. It's
Blade Runner 2049 is chef's kiss right there.
I mean, I think it has some of the same problems as Blade Runner as far as pacing. I do. I'm sorry. But I think that it is beautiful, and I get why. I mean, I think I did give it fresh, I think. I can't remember, but it is a beautiful movie, so I get it why you like it. And have you read C.S. Lewis's Mere Christianity? I just started it, and it's amazing. Yes. So good. Yes.
Love that book. C.S. Lewis is one of those authors that's so awesome, but I don't think is ever included in the conversation of like great authors of our time. Like, not only did he write the Narnia books, but he also wrote Mere Christianity and a bunch of others that's like, and he makes it clear in that book, he's not trying to promote anyone into Christianity. He's just trying to explain why Christians believe the things that they do. And he does it in a way that makes a lot of sense. Even for someone who grew up as a Roman Catholic, I'm sitting there like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I remember that.
Good. I mean, my favorite C.S. Lewis is Screwtape Letters. I absolutely love that. But Artist Love, if you love C.S. Lewis, you got to check out Durbania's channel. He has done tons of stuff on there on C.S. Lewis. And so it's like his favorite. But yeah, he's great. I love reading his works. And she says here, please read it. Let me know what you think. It's an easy read. Have you read Stardust? This is my favorite by Neil Gaiman. And
click to Goodreads.
I have not read it. I have seen the movie, which I liked fine. Again, I'm not the biggest fantasy fan in the world. So there were things about it that I didn't love. It's been a while since I've seen it, but I think that it's a very creative movie, and it has a lot of good things about it. So I would probably go fresh on it. But yeah, I haven't read the book, but I think it's probably pretty good.
If Artist Love is relating to the book by Neil Gaiman, I have not read it.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So she says, yay, thank you so much for reading my comments. I'm really enjoying this talk so much. Thank you, Rachel and Ryan. So, you're very welcome. Thank you for saying that. Okay, let's do a couple more questions. And if you have any more questions, just send them in. And as far as in movies, do I prefer fiction or nonfiction? I mean, a lot of the biopics have become somewhat rote and predictable. And so, that's not necessarily a bad thing if it's executed well, but there's something great about in finding something really unique and creative. And but I also tend to like things where I have some connection, some way to relate. I think that's a nice thing about something like Harry Potter is that it does feel like a normal boy that you can relate to. And so I think that's nice. And
Richard Jewell was really good, though.
Yeah, that was good. I liked that. That was good, especially Kathy Bates. She earned her Oscar. I thought an Oscar nom in that. Okay. Let's see here. A lot of questions about how often do you go to the movie theater? Well, not a good one for you. If this is a really good question, and I'm curious for your answer. If a book has been made into a movie, which do you prefer to do first? See the movie or read the book, and why?
Ooh, I guess it depends. I guess for me, it just depends on the context. Like when the Hunger Games movies came out, I had already read all. I I had already read the first couple books, so when Hunger Games and Catching Fire, those movies came out, I was just excited to see how they were going to tackle that. But then in other cases, I saw Jaws the movie the first time, and then later read the Peter Benchley book later. And so I guess it all is just dependent. But I guess for the sake of answering the question, I think I'd rather read the book, then watch the movie, and then see which ones, see how faithful it all is.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, there is an advantage of kind of coming into things clean and seeing the what they do and not having that sort of expectation of what you want. But I have to say, especially in comic book movies, I started when I was doing podcasts with Trevor from How to Love Comics. And as part of that, we would talk about the comics and then the transition over to the film. And it made it just a way better experience. It made it more rich and interesting. You could see why they made the choices that they made. And I just liked it so much better. So that was something that I started doing, is trying to read the comics before going to see the movie. And so, yeah, in general, I would say that I think I prefer to read the books. And I think that, especially if it's like a classic, I think that it's especially interesting because then you can see how a bunch of different versions, like for instance, with this new Rebecca, there were things that if I hadn't read the book, I probably would have looked at it differently. But because you can compare this version with the Hitchcock version with the book, and it kind of adds like a whole nother layer. It's interesting to me. So yeah, I thought that's a good question. So yeah, so she says Stardust, the book is so much better than the movie. So that's good to know. Okay. All right. What's the scariest movie you have ever seen?
Ooh, I have to. Rachel, you go first if you have any.
The scariest movie I've ever seen, and a lot of people wouldn't even consider this scary, but it particularly kind of preyed on my particular fears, is a movie called The Gift. And it's about this couple that they find out this man that he knew in high school is kind of ends up stalking them. And particularly what happens with her in the story, I found to be really creepy. And the whole idea that people are just watching you, and that what happens with her was very chilling, I think. And I mean, I think it's a very well done film, but it really, I really scared me. And when I was pretty like shaken after I went and saw it, and my roommate at the time was like, "Don't you never go see the one name when it's like The Gift or The Omen or the just like things, the one, which is just if it's a one name title, don't that's bad." I thought that's true. There's a lot of those in horror. The one, but anyway, so that one was really scary to me, and so
yeah, The Gift. Yeah, The Gift is excellent. This was, I don't know if it was written by, but I know it was directed by Joel Edgerton, and I'm so excited for whatever he directs next because he did a fantastic job with that movie, Levy.
Yeah.
It was also written by him, and and yeah, it was fantastic, especially the scene near the end, and it involves the monkey. I will go no further than that. But when I first saw that, I'm like, oh no! It's like it's one of those things where it's like wow, you better be nice to everyone because you have no idea like what someone's going through and what will motivate them to turn that around and bring that twice as hard down on your head.
Yeah, I mean, I would never watch that movie ever again, but I think it is very well done. It was just very scary to me because, especially being like a single woman alone, the idea of kind of someone watching you and that is just very scary to me. What about you? Did you think of one?
Yes, I did, and I think this may be I think the scariest movie I ever saw was the original Evil Dead from 1981. I remember
Oh,
watching this with my friend who's currently living in Maine now. He moved away at the start of this year, and he showed this, he was like, "You got to see the Evil Dead." I'm like, "Okay, let's watch it." And so we watched it, and the amount of effort that all of these friends did to make this into the scariest movie ever made was just so was just so crazy, because this movie almost goes into the OTT territory, and it would in the sequels, but at least for this movie, it was just these five people just slowly going mad, and just some of the effects are just some of the most harrowing that I've ever seen. Like, I will never not look at a pencil the same way ever again after a demon stabs someone in the ankle with it. Like, not even
mhm.
John Wick Chapter 2, when that happened, I was like, you're not stabbing anyone in the ankle with that. You know, it's just it, it's one of those movies that stays with you, and just when you think you're out, it drags you right back in. It's like the Alfred Hitchcock school of directing. Just when you think you know the answers, I change the questions.
Yeah, that sounds good. That sounds really good. We have Alto Burrito in the chat says The Descent. I've never seen that.
I've heard
So,
about it, never seen it. Oh, shout out to you, Alto. He's a frequent watcher of mine. I see your
ooh,
comments all the time, and thank
that's
you for
great.
that.
Yeah. Okay, let's do a couple more before we go. What's the worst movie you've ever seen? And so
I have
we
a feeling I know your answer, and why is it The Ridiculous Six?
So yes, The Ridiculous Six is the worst movie I've ever seen. I don't think it even counts as a real film. I mean, it is just so bad. The plot is terrible. The performances are terrible. It's offensive to women. It's offensive to Native Americans. It's not funny at all. It's gross. It's just it's it's so bad. I mean,
Yeah, and
yeah.
I'm not one of those people that hates Adam Sandler, but he is his own worst enemy at times, and I think you once told me, Rachel, as long as he is not as long as he doesn't have like a financial stake in it, like, he normally does good. Like, I
Yeah.
don't think it's a small accident that his best movies with him just as an actor and literally nothing else, like Uncut Gems or Punch Drunk Love or Reign Over Me or Funny People or
Yeah.
movies like that.
Yeah, like I'd watch Spanglish all day over any of the Happy Madison films. But as far as people always want to know what's a movie that you walked out of, I've only ever walked out of three movies in my life, and they were all when I was in college because there was this dollar movie theater in college, and we would go, and most of the time the one we wanted to see was sold out. It was a bad strategy. We needed a second activity or something, because then we would go to whatever else was playing, and it was usually absolutely atrocious. And and so I I know this movie has its fans. It's not for me. I really hated Drop Dead Gorgeous. It's a
Never heard of
mockumentary.
that one.
It's a mockumentary about beauty pageants, and to me, it was just extremely mean spirited. And where it crossed the line for me is, I don't mind people poking fun at religion, but I do mind when it's like outright sacrilege. To me, there's like a line. And in this one, there's a whole scene where the whole movie had been so unpleasant, and then there's a whole scene where there's for her talent. The one girl does a mock crucifixion to like a prayer from Madonna, and I was just like, I'm done. And so I left. I was actually on a date. So I was like, I'm leaving. I'm not watching this anymore. And so then they all left. And then the other one is also some sacrilege, which I did not like. Was a movie called Superstar, where basically Will Ferrell plays Jesus, and I was just like, nope, I'm done.
That
And
sounds awful.
it was so bad. And so those are the. I guess now I've only walked out of two movies. The yeah, I guess only those two. I really didn't like those films though.
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm an optimist. I can't remember the last time I walked out on any movie because even though I'll be slumped over like this and I'll just be like, all right, I'll just be completely checked out. I still have some level of hope that it might get better, and it almost never does. But
there have been some close calls. I was really close with Warcraft. I hated that movie. That was not for me.
What?
Yeah.
As soon as you said Warcraft, I was nearly asleep. No, but actually, a pretty close call for me was the Rise of Skywalker. That same friend that moved away at the start of the year, we went and saw it on opening night, and as soon as it was revealed that Rey was a Palpatine, we were like, "We're out of here!" Like we stood up and we were almost out, but I was like, "No, let's finish this. We can at least say that we finished it," and so we did, and it was like a jackhammer to the brain, but we stayed and we finished it because that movie is just so god awful. But that's neither here nor there.
Yeah.
I think in terms of my least favorite movie of all time, it's not. I don't think it's the worst movie ever made. It's just the most frustrating remake or adaptation that I've ever seen, and it's The Last Airbender from M. Night Shyamalan.
Ooh, yeah, that's
I like
one.
M. Night Shyamalan. He is incredibly nice in interviews, and he's actually had a fair bit of movies that I genuinely love. Love Sixth Sense, love Unbreakable. I love Signs, despite some problems with the logic, and I even like Split, and I even defend Glass, minus the ending. But The Last Airbender was just it crushed a part of my soul that has never really come back. Because I don't know if you all can see behind me, but I've got the Avatar: The Last Airbender box set behind me. I watched all the episodes when they premiered on Nickelodeon when they premiered. Even when I was on vacation with my dad, seeing his childhood friend in North Carolina, my dad and his childhood friend sat with me and watched the 5-part finale to that entire series, Sozin's Comet: The Final Battle, and it was epic. And when that movie came out, my little heart was absolutely crushed because getting away, like not even considering all of the name changes, like calling Aang Ong or in like Sokka Soka or whatever they decided to call him, like even that, it was just so bad. The effects were just god awful, and turning the bending in the animated series, which was based on actual martial arts, into "I will lift this rock," and it was like a little pebble floats in the air. It's Bush League amateur hour cable access stuff, and my God,
it's indefensible. It really. I mean, every single movie has its fans. I understand that, being a YouTuber, I get it, but I just don't know how you defend that one. That one is. It is so boring. It is so slow. Like all of those changes, I guess, could have been fine if it was an entertaining film. But oh my gosh,
any nuance or lore or anything of the sort was completely buried. And like Zuko, who in the animated series is a completely torn and just conflicted character who frequently floats between good and bad, to the point where the motivation is like you like him, but then you don't, but then he does something you like it goes completely out the window. And God bless Dev Patel for trying to make it work, because he's a good actor. But
yeah, if we do the best and worst of Dev Patel, which we probably will coming up sometime, that won't be a hard one. That will be very easy.
Like, God bless him. He seems like a nice guy, but he was just
very talented
in that movie.
We got a couple questions on us. Have you seen The Third Man? Have you seen those? I think there's a bunch of them.
Quick to IMDb.
I have not. I've heard of them, and I heard they're quite good. I think they're like mysteries, right? Yeah.
If Space Cow is referring to the Orson Welles movie, I have not.
Yeah, there's a bunch of them, and I have not. And so we need to get on that. Okay, then we have you seen Dune? I'm excited for the new one to come out.
Yeah, me
Okay,
too.
remember?
Denis Villeneuve is one of our best living directors. Like, I'm just
Remember,
going to get this out of the way right now before Rachel says that the book is completely boring.
remember that little conversation we had earlier about me and sci-fi? Dune is
Example A through Z, the defense rests, Your Honor.
yes. Dune is the book. We had to read it for book club, and I just about died. It is so. It is.
We
so
get it. You like spice,
tough.
Paul. Please move on.
Like my kind of joke about Dune is that it's like Phantom Menace without the fun. So if you think Phantom Menace is boring, wait till you see Dune. It is just, it's all about space trading and talking and politics. And the thing about Dune is that people are seeing these trailers and they're thinking this is going to be an exciting movie. And maybe it will be. Maybe I will be shocked and pleasantly so. But the book is not like that at all. It's not like Lord of the Rings. It's not
Star Wars.
It's not like Star Wars, unless you're thinking of Phantom Menace. It's a lot of talk about politics. It's a lot of talk about philosophy, and so combine that with Villeneuve, this thing is going to be very beautiful. It's going to be very thoughtful, and I'm going to have a hard time staying awake. I'm going to try my best. I'm going to try so hard. I'm going to put on my critic cap. I'm going to drink caffeine, which I never do.
I'm going to airlift you some Monster Energy drinks.
Yes, I'm going to try my hardest. I really will. But I'd be lying if I said I'm not anticipating a super fun joyride with Dune. But yeah.
As someone with little to no experience with anything related to Dune, I think it looks really great. But then again, I think Denis Villeneuve's one of our best living directors.
Yeah, he makes beautiful movies. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Are you there?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, he makes beautiful movies, for sure. So I get it why everyone's excited. I just, if people are expecting Lord of the Rings, you're going to be disappointed. That's my only caveat. But yeah, Artist Love says, "I believe in you."
I believe. Artist Love is the real MVP with all these chats.
Good. All right, well, let's do one more question. This is like so many questions. What movie star would you most like to meet?
Oh, this may be a bit of an off-kilter one for me, but I would love to meet Gary Sinise. Like, he just seems like a genuinely good person in real life. Minus, like, take him away from his charitable efforts with the Wounded Warriors Project. Like, he just seems like just a wonderful human being, and he's a really, really great actor too. Like, he's my favorite part of Forrest Gump, and he was awesome in Apollo 13. I'd love for him to share some Tom Hanks stories. Like, I'd love to hear all about those.
So that's a hard question. Who would I most? I mean, I've been very fortunate to be able to do a lot of interviews with Hallmark Talent, at least, and with other people with animation. But I don't know. As far as main talent, I think I would love to meet Hugh Jackman. I think he just seems like such a good guy. And he's been like faithful to his wife and is a family man, and he has a Broadway background, and I love, Broadway, and But he's done like a little bit of everything, and so it would be really interesting to talk to him. He's even done animation. He's done voice work. He's just done everything. He's the greatest showman. I mean, come on, what more could you want? So that's the first one that comes.
I'm sure Hugh Jackman would be an excellent person to meet.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, that's the first one I thought of to do. All right. Well, let's see. There we go. That agrees exactly about Hugh Jackman. I think it would also be cool to meet somebody that was in like a bunch of my favorites. Like it would be fun to talk to someone like Meg Ryan, maybe, that was in and that got to work so much with Nora Ephron, who I love, and get to talk to her about what it was like to make When Harry Met Sally, and You've Got Mail, and Sleepless in Seattle. So many iconic movies. That would be really fun. Meryl Streep, that would be fun. She's just done so many films. That would be cool to talk to her. But there we go. I think that covers it. I think that's been good. So let us know your thoughts about all the different things that we talked about. Are you super pumped for Dune? Put it in the comment section. And so where can people find you and your channel, Ryan?
They can find me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd at RyanCam20. Then there's my YouTube channel, which is just called Ryan Cam. Like I said a lot earlier, my episode of the AFI Project on Midnight Cowboy drops tomorrow at noon. And then I'll look forward to all the movies that I mentioned there, Philadelphia Story, and all of those coming up in the next few weeks. I've also started a new series reviewing every episode of The Mandalorian as they drop throughout the rest of this year. I've already talked about episode 1, which dropped late Friday morning, if you'd like to check that out as well. I do ask you humbly to go subscribe. It's a really good time to join up.
Yes, you should all subscribe. It's so much fun. And you should check out everything here at Rachel's Reviews. And then also we have Hallmarkies podcast over there. We are covering all of the Christmas content coming out. Including interviews, we have 9 scheduled broadcasts this week. So we are so busy over there. So you'll really like it if you like interviews with actors, directors, other things like that. And fun reviews that don't take ourselves too seriously, but we really love these cheesy Christmas movies. So we have a lot of fun with that. So check that out over there. Also have our Patreon group, which gives behind the scenes opportunities for particularly these Hallmark films, because that's who I have access to. But we have some really fun ones scheduled for the next couple of months and some other fun stuff. There's our Facebook group, which is really fun. So check out the Patreon group. We really, really, really appreciate that. And then also we have merch store, which has tons of festive designs, new designs. So if you want some Christmas merch, check it out over there. It's really fun. So thanks so much. And we'll talk again next month. Bye, everyone.
Bye.